Benetton, a team famously known for their world championship with Michael Schumacher in 1994, but a team that I also think has the best and worst liveries to come out in Formula One. By that I mean specifically as a team, they have some of the worst liveries and some of the best liveries to ever come out. Their liveries are divided in 5 different sections throughout their time from 1986 to 2001. And it goes with United Colors 1, United Colors 2, Camel, Mild 7, and Mild 7 2. And these are the differences that ended up coming into the liveries themselves throughout the years. I will go in order and I will tell you which ones I think are the worst and the best. By the end of the video, I will have 4 different type of selections. One will be best livery, one will be worst livery, most potential, and messiest livery. So we start off with United Colors 1, which this livery only has one section of livery. It is the 1986 one, where the actual livery is, I think, pretty cool, but it had potential to be a lot better. They went with this design where they had a bunch of flags on the top of the car. They were partnering up with Tyrrell and Alfa Romeo and were the title ship sponsor, hence why the name of the team called Benetton. A lot of people really love this livery, and I think it is good. It is good, don't get me wrong. The more I look at it, the more I like it. It is an awkward car to be on, but when you look at it from the top, the livery does look great. So I can't deny that the United Colors 1 is a pretty good looking livery. Here's where it starts to fade though. Right away, we go into United Colors 2, where I think the Benetton team took a wrong turn on their liveries. So they scrapped the whole idea with the flags of what they had, and they went with a color palette of red, orange, yellow, blue, green, pink, and even a different color of yellow. I mean, these 3 liveries from 1987 to 1990 are some of, I would say, probably the worst liveries that I have ever seen in the sport. Especially the 1987 one. I mean, this one makes really no sense to the color palette at all. And it is on an ugly car, might I add. I don't like the look of these cars back in the day from 1987, but the cars do start to improve, at least by the looks of it and how the aero was done from then on. Even 1988 is a little bit better than the 87, for sure. It's a bit different. They took out the actual pink. They didn't have another shade of yellow again. Now they have this like almost yellow going over the top of it, which I think is the better call because of Camel, and this is where we end up starting to go into that Camel era. And then we actually get the last color, which for 1990 is a step down from the 88, I would say, or 1989. It is a step down for sure. I like the darker blue on it. The light blue did not really suit the car. At least from a personal standpoint, I don't really like the way that looks. The last, the 1990, is actually probably the biggest improvement of the United Colors 2. It is, I would say, pretty good. They tried putting the color palette in a different type of way, and the color palette did work. I would say that finally, with all these colors mashed up of the green, red, blue, and yellow all together, they finally put it in, I think, the best looking way. But might I add though, this isn't the best looking car, so it's a maybe for me. It's a maybe for me on this one. All in all though, United Colors 2 has some of the worst. On to the Camel era of Benetton, and these liveries are good. They're good. They're not great. They're good though. But the 1991 though, that one is great. The way that they designed this livery was fantastic. The way that they had Camel on the top, this is where we get some of those classic liveries to do with Camel and with the cigarette brands. It was definitely, I liked the actual writing of it in comparison to the 92 version where they took off the writing and kind of made the car look a lot more plain. The way that they set up the stickers and actually put the real advertisement on the car is extremely important. They change a lot of things on from the 1991 to the 92 that makes the car way uglier in my opinion. But now we move on to the 93 version, which gets 2 different types of looking liveries. You have the B and you have the A, but both look great. This is when it turned into the Benetton Sport system on the side of it, which I actually like. I like the green and the yellow. It goes along with the actual cigarette brand of Camel, and it made sense for the car to go along that route of yellow and green. It does look slick from the side. The cars are just getting better and better, so that does help the liveries to look better because now they can design it on a better platform. And I gotta add, the Benetton Sport system does look good, and I would put it almost great. We move on to my favorite era of Formula One liveries, and 3 liveries in a row, might I add, that are just gems to the sport. And this is also the year that Michael Schumacher won his championship. So not only did he win it, he won it in a badass car, so made it just that much better. They ended up switching the Camel and going to Mild 7, which was their competitor from Japan. The car looks outstanding. Still sponsored by Ford, still have Ford as an engine manufacturer, but the rest of the car looks like a beaut. The Mild 7 on the side with the Benetton sports system on the side. The way that this green and like light blue works, we know the Mild 7 for being on the Renault R25, which is the famous car that Fernando Alonso drives. But on this car, they just implemented just that much smoother. It looks beautiful with this color scheme, just looks great. Then we move on to the 95 version. Yellow on the side from the drive, keeping it's also blue, but taking away the green, which still looks awesome, might I add. They also have that elf in the front, which looks great with that little strip. That is now the difference between the big Ford sponsor that they had on the front of the car before. It is a great looking car. It did not improve from what they had in 94, but I do like it. I do like it. And this 96 car is a mean one. My second favorite out of the 4 that we were given during this 1994 to 1997 era. So they changed it up a little bit. They have Mild 7 going down now vertically and not horizontally. It's not in one big line, and they have that across the car a couple of times, but more white is added to the car. They add the green side pod. Everything, all the rest of it though, Kingfisher is actually a sponsor on the front of it, so hence why the white. The way that this car is separated makes it look great. And might I add, these are some of the best Formula One looking cars that we've had probably to date. They are the fastest looking cars, but also the smoothest looking cars. For 97, which was their last design in the Mild 7 1 era, it is my least favorite out of the 4 that we have just been shown. But I do like it. It's not bad. They went with more white. They lost that Benetton sports system on the side, so that does actually ruin a little bit of the car, in my opinion. I do think that the actual green and blue really stuck together, and without it, the car doesn't look the same. So this one is a downgrade from before. Then we move on to the Mild 7 2 era, which is the last era of Benetton. And these liveries are a downgrade to the Mild 7 1 era, if might I add. I mean, we get the first 1998 car, which was driven by Pichella and Wirtz, was not great. They have the Korean Air on the side, they have the FedEx, it's just white and blue, but looks very basic. And the actual blue in the front of the car is too predominant in comparison to the rest of the car. It's not something I'm a real big fan of. I think that they take away from the other colors that they had before. We move on to the 99 version, contrast of colors. I like when it's a good mix, but the way that the white and the blue mix here, it's all right. It's nothing crazy. I do think it's an improvement in the 98 car, but I think it's only because the car looks better. I'm not actually sure if the actual livery itself looks better, so I kind of have them rated about the same. In 2000 is another livery that I think is actually a pretty bad one. Now, I don't know how many people would agree with this, but the just full out blue is just bland. It's bland and boring, and I think that takes away from Benetton as a team. I mean, it really doesn't. It throws away the whole United Colors part of Benetton, and now that the car is fully blue, it's not something I'm a real big fan of. This is definitely low on my tier list when it comes to actual liveries. And the last is maybe least. We do have the last Benetton livery in its color scheme. It is a far way away from the United Colors that we started with, and now it's just like a lighter blue with Jensen on the side, and yet again another bland and pretty boring livery. They add a couple of other darker schemes. The white actual stickers on the car do help it out, but it throws it away, and this is when the car starts actually turning into a more Renault-based car, and we get away from Benetton. I'm going to rate to you the best, the worst, most potential, and messiest livery. Coming in at the best livery, you already know what I'm gonna say. It is the 1994 Mild 7 1 with Michael Schumacher's championship winning car. I mean, this car is just beyond beautiful. It's just lovely to glance at and to look at. Big fan of this car, definitely the best livery that Benetton has had in its time. Now for the worst livery, you also probably know what I'm going to say for this one, and it stands in the United Colors too. It is definitely the 1987 United Colors 2 Benetton livery. Ugh, just a pile of different colors. It doesn't look great. It was a mess. Most potential. So the livery that I think didn't execute as well as it did, or as well as it should have, but had a lot more potential to be a way better livery than it actually was. The livery that had the most potential I decided to pick was the 1998 Mild 7.2 era of Benetton cars. I put it up there because the way that the FedEx and the Korean Air on the side could have been done a lot better. They needed to add more white throughout the car, and I would have taken that white line and put it all the way to the tip of the nose from the side view. I think that would have added a way different look, and it kind of would have looked like what we got with the actual Haas 2023 livery, to where on one side it looks very white, from the front it would look very blue. And I think that would make the car look a lot better than it did in its 1998 version. And the messiest livery, which is also the worst livery, is the 1987 United Colors 2. Yeah, I put it up in both messy and worst just because that is what makes the car bad. It's not that the color scheme is the worst on the planet, it's that they just made it so messy, and it took away completely from what they actually had before with the beautiful flag design to now the boring, solid color 87 with a messiness of lines and the way that the sponsors are put on the car. Definitely takes away from it, and that is my list, and really about the team Benetton and how they had the worst and best liveries of all time. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of Benetton as an F1 team when they were in F1? Did any of you guys watch that F1 era at that time? And what did you guys think of the liveries at that time? Or now, what do you guys think of it? Do you think it would look good on a 2022 car? Please leave your thoughts down below in the comments. It would mean the world. Please leave a like, subscribe. That would also mean the world. And